घर के ताणे मैडम पूछ रही है वीणा मैडम. హలో కావ్య.
వీళ్ళమ్మో
మేడం ఎవరు మేడం వచ్చారు బాబు. సైలెంట్ ఉన్నాడు.
స్క్రీన్ విజిబుల్ అవుతుందా? టోటల్ స్క్రీన్ కనిపిస్తుందా అమ్మా? ఏం ప్రాబ్లం? హలో 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 స్క్రీన్ విజిబుల్ అవుతుందమ్మా?
మేడం
ఓకే ఓకే
ఎస్ మ్యామ్. బట్ అవి మేమే కనబడుతుంది మేడం. అంటే అవి
కదా
ఎస్ మ్యామ్ ఎస్ మ్యామ్.
ఏం కనబడుతుందని అడగలేరురా.
పీపీటీ కనిపిస్తుందా? పీపీటీ కనిపిస్తుందా అమ్మా?
నో మ్యామ్. ఓకే ఓకే.
వస్తుంది లోడ్ అవుతుంది. కనిపిస్తుందా పీపీటీ?
ఎస్ మేడం.
మేడం
ఓకే. సో ఇన్ ద okay graphical user purpose is to develop some window programming. Okay, and this contains some number of components, and all these components are there in some containers class. Okay, here the graphical user interface is developed with the help of some graphical elements like buttons. Suppose you can see in the login form some submit button is there. Suppose whenever you can see some results, in that case some submit button is there. So these are all nothing but buttons. Sometimes you can open some window. So suppose you can open some Microsoft Word. There you can see some scroll bars, vertical scroll bars and horizontal scroll bars. So like that some list boxes are there. That means you can choose one of the item from the number of options. For that those are there in some list. Okay, text field, something you can enter, and suppose you can display your name, that is some editable, so that is given in text field. So these all are called as a components. So in the AWT, these components are instances of the respective component classes. That means suppose here button is one class and scroll bars is one class, list is one class. All these are the classes in component class. Okay, all these components cannot exist alone. They are found within the containers. That means container is the main class. In the container, components class is there. In the components, some classes are there. These are the buttons, scroll bars, list, text boxes, like that. So these components cannot exist alone. That means these components can be placed in containers. This is also one of the question, like that the component class, superclass is what? That is a container is a superclass. Actually these containers are themselves components. Okay, thus they can be placed inside other containers. That means container nothing but enti ante it contains some other components. Again some other component is like a container. Suppose for example panel. So panel is also one component. In the panel we can place some other components. Okay, now we can discuss all these one by one. In AWT, all containers objects of class container are one of its subtypes. Now see here, this is a hierarchy of AWT package. Whenever we can develop any applications using AWT, okay, that means we can create any Windows environment. So compulsory we can import that AWT package. Here this is the main component is a class. In that class container is there. So here again containers are two types. There's a panel and Windows. So Windows lo again two subtypes are there, dialog and frame. Whenever we can create any class, the class must be extends from dialog class or frame class or panel class or windows class. So in that we can place all these components like that. So here components, these all are the components. Button is one component, text component contains two text fields, one is the text area, other one is the text field. So here these two have some differences. Text field contains only one line, whereas text area contains multi lines. So this is what the button. So we can give some events to this button. And canvas, on the canvas you can write something. So check boxes, that means when the check boxes are used, that means suppose we can choose what are the different courses you completed. So in that case we are using these check boxes, for example. And coming to the choice button, so more than one option you can choose only one choice, there we are using this choice button. So these are also called as a radio buttons. And coming to the label, so label, suppose you can display something that is not editable, so in that case we are using this label buttons. Coming to the list, so it contains some list of items. Scroll bars, nothing but we know that horizontal scroll bars and vertical scroll bars, whenever the document is exceeds our window, so automatically so it place the scroll bars, like vertical scroll bars as well as horizontal scroll bars. So these all we are discussed one by one now. Here these all that means these all are the classes in AWT package. These all are the classes in AWT package. That means how the events are generated and ఒక particular button ki or particular component ki ela event istamu. So for that we are using this AWT event class. So suppose layouts అంటే మనకి ఇవన్నీ కూడా that means ఈ కాంపోనెంట్ అన్నిటిని కూడా ఎక్కడ ప్లేస్ చేస్తున్నాం, ఆర్ కార్నర్, నార్త్ సైడ్, ఆర్ సపోజ్ దట్ మీన్స్ బార్డర్స్లో ప్లేస్ చేస్తున్నాం. సో డిఫరెంట్ layouts are there. And button, this class creates the button. And canvas, that means ఒక blank rectangle ఏరియాని క్రియేట్ చేస్తుంది. అండ్ కార్డ్ లేఅవుట్, సో ఇక్కడ ఏంటి అంటే మనకి కాంపోనెంట్స్ అన్నీ కూడా వన్ బై వన్ డిస్ప్లే అవుతాయి. చెక్ బాక్సెస్, సో నెక్స్ట్ చెక్ బాక్సెస్లో ఏంటి, ఏ కాంపోనెంట్ దట్ కెన్ బి in one state, either on state or off state. So alla check box group, that means number of check boxes can placed in one group. So check box menu item ante check box ela untundi ante manaku oka menu laga display avutundi. So choice, the choice class opens the pop up menu. Okay, number of choices there, and that we can choose only one choice. Suppose colors, that means components ki mana colors change chestunam anukondi, colors, all these components are there in component class. So again this container is the subclass of this component. So number of dialogues, that means suppose మీరు ఎప్పుడైనా ఫైల్ సేవ్ చేయాలి, సో ఇన్ దట్ కేస్ ఆటోమేటికల్గా మనం ఏం చేస్తున్నాం, సో గో టు ఫైల్ మెను అండ్ ఓపెన్ ద సేవ్ డైలాగ్ బాక్స్. సో ఇన్ దట్ కేస్ సేవ్ డైలాగ్ బాక్స్ ఈజ్ ఓపెన్. ఓకే, వెన్ ఎవర్ యూ కెన్ ఓపెన్ సమ్ ఫైల్, ఇన్ దట్ కేస్ press on the open option, automatically it opens the open dialog box. Okay, next ఒక dimensions, that means that particular component dimensions ఎలా ఉండాలి, that means how much of height and how much of width. File dialog, that means so just now I can discuss about this file dialog. That means మీకు సేవ్ చేయాలి అనుకోండి, ఫైల్ అనేది డైలాగ్ బాక్స్ ఓపెన్ అవ్వాలి. So this flow layout means the components are one after other, left to right and top to bottom, all components are placed. That means font, suppose components లో మనం ఏమన్నా ఫాంట్ ఇస్తున్నాము, టెక్స్ట్ బటన్లో మీ నేమ్ ఎంటర్ చేస్తున్నారు, ఆ ఫాంట్ ఎలా ఉండాలి, సో ఫాంట్ యొక్క మెట్రిక్స్ ఎలా ఉండాలి, సైజ్ ఎలా ఉండాలి. సో ఇక్కడ ఫ్రేమ్ అంటున్నాం, ఫ్రేమ్ ఇన్ ద సెన్స్ టాప్ లెవెల్ విండో, దట్ మీన్స్ ఆల్ కాంపోనెంట్స్ ఆర్ ప్లేస్డ్ ఆన్ దట్ ఫ్రేమ్. అండ్ గ్రాఫిక్స్, సో దట్ మీన్స్ గ్రాఫిక్స్ క్లాస్ ఎందుకు అంటే సర్కిల్స్ సంథింగ్ అంటే సర్కిల్స్ ఆర్ సమ్ టెక్స్ట్ కానీ సమ్ లైన్స్, సో ఎనీథింగ్ మీరు ఏమైనా షేప్స్ డ్రా చేయాలి అనుకుంటే వీఆర్ యూజింగ్ దిస్ గ్రాఫిక్స్ క్లాస్. అండ్ గ్రిడ్ బ్యాగ్ లేఅవుట్, సో దిస్ గ్రిడ్ బ్యాగ్ లేఅవుట్ కాంపోనెంట్స్ ఆర్ లేఅవుట్ అవుట్ యూజింగ్ దిస్ గ్రిడ్ బ్యాగ్ లేఅవుట్. అంటే హియర్ డిఫరెంట్ టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ లేఅవుట్స్ ఆర్ దేర్. వన్ ఈజ్ ద బార్డర్ లేఅవుట్, గ్రిడ్ బ్యాగ్ లేఅవుట్, ఫ్లో లేఅవుట్ and border layout. So these all are the different layouts, and these layouts are used to where our components are placed. Okay, and these all are also some other classes, that means one by one we can discuss all these classes. So how these classes are used for our applications. Okay, now go to first, this component is a subclass of the object class. Again this component is there in object class. This object class is there in land package. So this is the super class of all these classes. Button is one class, label is one class, checkbox is one class, radio button is one class. Like these components are added to a window using add method. అంటే every component is added this window. So window పైన మనకి component display కావాలి అంటే how that component is added by using this what components are added the window using the add method. Okay, and component, this is a component add method. Okay, add method lo we can pass component, that is a button add చేయాలనుకుంటే add that button object and it returns a button. Okay, this here component object is the object of the component. For example, that is a button object out there, then you can pass here button object and it returns a button. That button is added on the window and this method returns a reference to the component object. So the reference, the return type of this method is component object. So ante whichever the object you are created, that object is returned. Ante whatever the object you are passed here added onto the method or added onto the window, so that is written. Okay, if you wish to remove that component from a window, just use the remove method. So remove, the return type is void. Here you are passed some component object. Next, here see these all are the components. Every component have some events. Okay, so that event మనం యూజ్ చేయాలి అంటే ప్రతి కాంపోనెంట్ కి అంటే బటన్ ఉంది అంటే సపోజ్ వెన్ ఎవర్ యూ కెన్ ఎంటర్ యూజర్ ఐడి, దట్ మీన్స్ ఈమెయిల్ ఐడి అండ్ పాస్వర్డ్. ఆఫ్టర్ దట్ యూ కెన్ క్లిక్ ఆన్ ద ఓకే button. That means click event is executed. Sometimes double click is there, sometimes selection, sometimes deselection. So like that ఒక లిస్ట్లో నుండి ఐటమ్ సెలెక్ట్ చేయాలి అనుకోండి which event is performed. That means every component have some events. So these all are one by one we are discussed. That means every event type enti, that means click. So click అప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది మనకి something, some action is performed. That's why action event. So for executing this action event, first of all action listeners are executed. So while executing this action listener, so some action is performed. That means that is specified inside the action performed. For that suppose ఒక బటన్కి ఫోకస్ రావాలి, దట్ మీన్స్ ఫోకస్ ఇన్ ద సెన్స్ మీరు ఆ బటన్ వర్క్ అవుతుంది. సో ఇన్ దట్ కేస్ హౌ ద ఫోకస్ ఈవెంట్ ఈజ్ లిజన్ బై యూజింగ్ ఫోకస్ లిజనర్స్. ఓకే, ఫర్ దట్ ఎవ్రీ component has its own events and that event type is what and what are the event listeners. So whenever that event is executed, which method is executed. So ee method ki manam code rasam. Now see, first these all are the different components. So before discussing this, first you can see one of the example for this component. So that example is here. Here I am writing one program already. So that is here some sample program, simple example is there. So this for that for writing any AWT program, that means using suppose you can implement any graphical user interfaces, you are using AWT package. So for that import this AWT package. So now here we are writing one program, that is a simple example. So this extends from frame or window or panel as your wish. So frame nothing but మనకి ఒక విండో ఫామ్లో డిస్ప్లే అవుతుంది. So here this is the simple example. Our class name is simple example. So this class is extends from frame. So some window is displayed. So in that for this simple example, this is some window. For this I am writing some constructor. So in this constructor, simple example is the constructor. Here I am creating one button. So my button name, so whatever, that means button is a constructor. This is the constructor. So for this constructor here you can write, for this constructor ఇక్కడ ఏం చెప్తున్నాం మనకి, here some name is num. That is suppose here you are giving some submit button, submit. Okay, So this is the constructor. Here I am passing some string. So this string is displayed in the button as a caption. So this is the set bounds. That means set bounds in the sense where that button is displayed. That means this is x and xy coordinate and height and width. So this bound, that means B is the button. So this button bounds, that means height and width. So this is 50 and last two arguments are height and width, and first two arguments are x and y coordinates where that button is stored on the window. So this is the window. Here x coordinate, for example, this is the 50th position and this is the 50th position. That means x coordinate and y coordinate where that on the window where that button is placed. So that is xy coordinates, and these 50 are nothing but height and width for that button height and width. After completion of these specifications, now add this button on the what? We can add this button on the frame or window. Okay, for that we are using add method. And after that, set size. So this size is nothing but frame size, window size. So on the screen, our frame size is what? That means how much of width and how much of height. Width is 500 and height is 300. And set title. So title is like this. Suppose you can observe here notepad, simple example.java. That means where I can place the cursor, you can see there. That is simple example.java notepad. And the top, you could observe jese, on the top, suppose the title is displayed. Like that, we are also placed with the title. That is, this is my first AWT example. Okay. Now the layout. So suppose default layout is the flow layout only. So automatically మీరు ఏం layout specify చేయలేదనుకోండి, one after other మనకి components are added onto the window. Okay, this by default frame is not visible, so we are setting the visibility to true. అంటే by default ఈ frame అనేది మనకి కనిపించదు. So that set visible property, that means set visible method in the true. That means now this frame is visible in the window. Okay, for this now the main method. Suppose this same AWT you can run in the applet. There is no need to write this main method. Okay, there just you can write what paint method. In the paint method you can create the object, automatically it is executed. So but here applets are not executed in my laptop, so that here I am using main method. Now it is a simple Java application, not a Java applet. Okay, in the main method I am creating some object. That is a simple example key. So I am creating some object. Now the object is created. In that case, simple example constructor is executed. In the constructor I am writing this code. Now compile this application, so that open command prompt, that is control or Windows so command button is open. Now this command prompt. Now our program is there in E drive. Now our program name is Java C. Our program name is simple example dot Java. Simple example dot Java. Your application. So now it is compiled. Now execute this application by using Java interpreter, that is Java simple example. Now observe here, some window is displayed here. Okay, is it visible? Okay, hello. So now see here, this is a submit button. Okay, now this is my first AWT example. So this is the title. Suppose here now see here, in that case suppose I am creating one button, that is, this is the button, submit is the button. In the button, so I am giving some caption as submit. So this is the string passed in the constructor, that is a button constructor is executed. In that this is displayed as a caption for this button. Button ki some caption laga display avutundi. After that, this b dot set bounds. Now you can observe this b dot set bounds, that is 50, 50 and 50, 50. That means bounds, these bounds nothing but here this is x comma y, and this is end point, and these positions and these positions, and height and width plus manaki ee points xy coordinates. So after that, add button, that means suppose you are not using this add button, this is not visible. Even though you are creating the button object, this is not added under this frame. Okay, so now this is what the frame. So here this is what the frame. Okay, now because this our class name is a simple example, so that is extends from frame. So now it is a frame, so that name is simple example. So for that we are setting the size, that means 500 and 300. That means this is the width is 500 and height is 300. Okay, now this is the window, close and minimize and maximize. Now coming to the set title method, these all are the methods. There is a set title method, set layout, set size and set visible. These four methods for frame. So these four methods are compulsory. Why? Because we have to set the frame size. That means by default size is 0, 0. You can set the same frame size. And after that, if you require any title, you can give the title. That is, this is my first AWT example. That is, here this is my first AWT example. Okay, then next, this is the set layout, that means flow layout. That means whenever you can add any that means where this button is placed, that means flow layout means next you can assign or add any other component. So next that is added here. Okay, that is nothing but flow layout. And coming to visible, that means by default this frame is not visible. So for that you can make it as a visible. For this purpose you can call the method as set visible. You can pass here the boolean argument, that is a true argument. Okay, after that in the main method you can call this constructor. So once the constructor is executed, and now this is executed. So in this, what are the specifications we are given, that is executed here. But you can click on this submit button, there is no event, because we are not writing any event handling code here. ఇంతవరకు మనకి ఇక్కడ ఏంటి, ఎన్ని ఈవెంట్ హ్యాండ్లింగ్ కోడ్ అనేది మనము ఇవ్వట్లేదు. సో దట్స్ వై దిస్ ఈజ్ నాట్ ఎగ్జిక్యూటెడ్. ఓకే, నౌ క్లోజ్ ఆల్సో, దిస్ ఈజ్ నాట్ closed and this is not minimized. Sorry, minimized is there, but this is not closed. But so once minki close kaledu anukondi, here it waiting, that means the what is that, that window is executed, that window is continuously executed or displayed. So how it is come back to windows command prompt by using Control Z. Whenever you can press the Control Z or Control Z or Control C, automatically, so we are came back to this is what window command prompt. Okay, so this is our first simple example. Next, one more example you can see here. This is so this is another example. You can observe here, just I am writing here, in the previous case I can extend this class from frame, but in this case I am not extend this example to class from this frame. Just here only create the object for this frame. Okay, here I am adding some label. I am creating one label object. So this is the user ID. Okay, then next one more is, that is here for this, and in the previous case, so directly our class is extends from the frame class, so there is no need to invoke that, that means there is no need to use object. But here just we are writing some class and creating the frame, and after that using the frame object frame dot add. So in the previous case by default that is added to the frame because of our class is extends from the frame class. Okay, here this class is not extends from the frame class, so that you can add your button onto the frame by using explicitly by using frame object, that is fr is the frame object. So here frame fr is the object of the frame object and call the constructor. Once the frame object is created, one more label object is created, label caption is user ID. Next this label button is added to the frame. After that create one more component, that is the text button, that is text field. So new text field, now this is also added to here. Now frame size, so this is what the frame size, and our layout is flow layout, means our that means our label and these text buttons are displayed one after other. Flow layout means from left to right and top to bottom. As many number of as you are add the components, those components are added onto the window from left to right and top to bottom. Okay, and compulsory by default the frame is not visible, so that you can visible, make it as a visible. For that you can call the method as set visible, that is true. Okay, now so this is what the concept. So for that for executing this application you can write one main compulsory main method, because this is a Java application. Here you can call the constructor example 2. So in the constructor just you can write some specification how this is displayed. Now open execute this application. For that compile your application. The file name is example2.java. Now run your application. After compiling, run your application. So now observe here user ID and here some text field. You can enter some text. This is the text you have to enter. Suppose whenever you are giving submit button, automatically it is submitted, and you can give any event, then that is generated. But we are not writing till now any event, so that just you can close this one by pressing Ctrl Z. Okay. Now I can modify this application. Suppose instead of this, here I am using the bounds method also. That means set bounds. So before adding this one, you can set the bounds. That means now how the bounds are setted. That means lb dot set bounds method. In the set bounds method, so first you can specify the x coordinate, comma y coordinate, and height of that that means width as well as height. Okay, height specify చేస్తున్నాము, width specify చేస్తున్నాము. Okay, now add this one. So now text field. So before adding this text field to the frame, so first you can set the bounds where that text field is placed and how much of width and how much of size. Set bounds. Now set bounds method. In the set bounds you can specify the x coordinate and y coordinate. So first one is the x coordinate and y coordinate. So x coordinate is same, sorry, x coordinate is suppose some 100, comma y coordinate is some 50. Our text button width is suppose 50 and height is suppose. So so in this situation I am not using any flow layout. So by default ga automatic ఏమవుతుంది, this is a default ga మనకి 1 by 1 display అవుతుంది. So two things, whenever you are using the bounds you need not use the flow layout, that is default, that is automatically added whatever the bounds you are given. That means now compile this application. Here This is compiled. Now execute your application. Now see here user ID. So ikkada where is the text button? So the text button is not displayed. That means so total ga manaki em ayindi text button anedi oka nimisham text button automatic ga emindi full ga teeskundi. Means ఈ బౌండ్స్ ఇచ్చినప్పుడు మనకి ఫ్లో లేఅవుట్ ఇవ్వాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. ఒకవేళ బౌండ్స్ స్పెసిఫై చేయకుండా ఇచ్చామనుకోండి, ఇప్పుడు చూడండి బౌండ్స్ ఏమి ఇవ్వట్లేను. నౌ హియర్ దర్ ఇస్ నో బౌండ్స్. నౌ ఇన్ దిస్ కేస్ కంపల్సరీ లేఅవుట్ సెట్ చేయాలి. దట్ ఈస్ బై యూజింగ్ సెట్ లేఅవుట్ న్యూ ఫ్లో లేఅవుట్. ఓకే, నౌ కంపైల్ దిస్ వన్. User ID and this flow layout. So first here it is displayed, after that next one. So this is what the how the windows are created. Okay, now so this is what how the windows are created. So for this till now we have discussed what are the specifications, how that component is created, how the bonds are set, and how that is added onto the window, and how the frame is visible, how we have to set the frame title. So these only we have discussed. And next we can assign some events to that. So how that is possible? That is possible through this each and every component has its own events. So for executing every event, it requires some event class and event listeners as well as event methods. Okay. Now first we can discuss about the button. So for button, that is the button class belongs to the AWT package. So this is the public class. So this class is extends from the component and it implements the accessible interface. And this class creates a button. So which when pushed or pressed it generates some event. That means the purpose of this button enti ante we can give some events to that particular button. So this button throws an exception. These are the two exceptions, headless exception, and so here button has two constructors. One is a no argument constructor. In that case by default the caption is button itself. Suppose you can change that caption with your content, whatever the content you are passed here. For that button with one argument constructor. Okay, how the button is created? That is button is a class name and object name equal to new operator. Next constructor, within the constructor you can pass this string. So button name is the name you give to the button object, and string is the text that is appear on the button. That means button name anedi entante that is the object name. And coming to the string, whatever the string you are passed here, that is appear on the button. Okay, once the button is created, so compulsory we can add that button to the applet or to the window or to the panel or any other content. That means added to the applet or any other content. So how it is possible? By using this is add button name. Suppose while creating the button you are not passed any argument in this constructor, that is a no argument constructor. That means this is you are used. In that case even though we are in that situation also we can create the we can set the label for that button. That means whatever the content is appear on the button, how it is set, that is by using constructor as well as by using set method. That is set label means we change the button's label. Whatever the content is displayed on the button, that is also changed by using set label method, or that is also set by using button constructor. So whatever the name or whatever the value or whatever the string is appeared on the button, how we can get that? By using getLabel method. So this getLabel method returns whatever the label contains on the button, that is returns by using getLabel method. So that is set by using setLabel method. So now see that this is an example for button. Now here this in this case this is applet అని చెప్పొచ్చు. అదర్వైజ్ డైరెక్ట్లీ ఇంతకుముందు మనం ఎలాగైతే రన్ చేసామో జస్ట్ అప్లికేషన్ లాగా అలా కూడా రన్ చేయొచ్చు. సో ఐఎమ్ అసైనింగ్ సమ్ ఈవెంట్ టు దిస్ బటన్ సో దట్ ఐఎమ్ యూజింగ్ హియర్ యాక్షన్ లిజనర్స్. ఫర్ దట్ compulsory we can import one package, that is a event package. That means AWT package contains one more sub package, that's a event package. So only just demonstration, that means we are not giving any event coding, just there we are using this AWT package only. Suppose you can assign any events to that particular component, then you can import some package, that is a event package. Now here our class, that means our class is button class. This is the demo for button. So this class is extends from applet. Here the applet annamu. Suppose you can extend this without using applets. Suppose just you can create some Java application. In that case you can extend this from frame and implements from action listener, because action listener is the interface. It contains some methods. So those methods are used to how to assign some events to that particular button. Okay, now here three buttons are created: red button, white button and blue button. So some label is there. Label name is, label object is hit, and three buttons. These are the three buttons. So now ఇదే కోడ్ని నేను అప్లికేషన్లో ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేశాను. See here. Okay. Now see, this is our button example. So with events. Okay. So for that I am creating only Java application, not the Java applet. Okay. Now for that import this because here I am creating some GUI component. Okay, button class extends from frame. So it implements some action listener, because here I am writing some event handling program. For that button, here three buttons are created and one label object. So this is not a what is it? This is not applet. So that I am writing this code within the constructor. Then I am writing some constructor. So within the constructor, create red object, white object and blue object. The next one label. So on the label hit a button to change the screen color. So e button red color paina click chesam anukondi, then automatic so our screen color is changed to red. Next add this red and add the white. Next add blue. Next add label. So three buttons, red, white, blue buttons and one label. So after this write the action listeners. So for adding the action listeners, so first of all which buttons, that means for which buttons you are write some listeners, that means events. For that compulsory you can add the action listener to that particular this that means this nothing but for this red object action is assigned, for this white object action is assigned, for this blue object action is assigned. Now write the code, that means action performed. That means we can assign the actions for this. So if it is a red, automatically the background color is changed. Okay. Now write the code for action listener. Okay. For that action performed means which one, which button, for which button we are assigning the actions, all these three buttons. Okay. For that, here this is a ae.get action command. So if this string, that means it returns some red, or that means whatever the caption is displayed on the buttons, if it is a red, then automatically the color is changed. That means here this is what set background color, screen color is changed to red. If it is else, if it is a blue, suppose you can press the blue button, now screen color is changed to, sorry, if it is a white, now the screen color is changed to white. Suppose if it is a blue, now it can change it to blue. Okay, else if it is the blue. Now here change it to blue. Okay, close this one. And after this is the constructors. I am writing this code within the constructor only. So for that, here I am close this one, and after that action performed is closed and button is closed. That means constructor is closed. Here this is the what Java application, not the Java applet. So that you can compulsory write one method as public static void main. In that you can pass the string object, string arguments, and here call that class. That means call this constructor. For that create some object. So our class name is what? Button class. Our class name is button class. Now create the object for this button class. Create the object for this button. Okay. New button class. Okay. Close this main and close the class. Now save this application, compile your application. So our application name is what? Button class. Our application name is button class. Now enter. So you can save this application first. Button class dot Java. Now run your application. Here some errors are there. So this is like this is close it here. Button. Just close it here. Let's close it. it's a mistake that visible property. Visible, true. Okay. The next is set size 100 comma 300. So here, that is ఇంతకుముందు we had did some mistake, that is set visible property we are not set, so that the frame is by default the frame is not visible. So whenever you can set that property that is set visible as a true, now the window is visible, the window size is 300 and 300. Now you can press on this, means okay, one more mistake here, that is we can set the bounds also. That means here, so before adding this one, set the bounds, that is white dot set bounds, that is 50 comma 50 comma 50 comma 50. Okay. Then next, set bounds for all the remaining, control C, for blue dot set white blue red. Next for label, set the bound, label button name is hit. Bounds are, suppose compile your application, label here. Now on the white, blue, red. సో ఆటోమేటిక్గా ఏమవుతుంది, మనకి కలర్స్ డిఫరెంట్ అవుతాయి. So tomorrow we will discuss about this concept, how to change the color.